before we get into the list, I want to give a shout out to italki, who is the sponsor of today's video. I get a ton of emails from people who are just starting out their Dutch language journey, and it always makes me so excited. One of the things that helped me the most was being able to take one-on-one personalized lessons using italki. And I've spoken about this before, and then being able to bring my Dutch up to a level where I was able to work and use vocabulary that was specified to my needs using this platform. So if you've already started your language learning journey and you feel like you're plateauing, or you feel like you're not making as much progress as you expected, speed up your language learning process with italki. If you sign up this month for the first time, so italki are running a language challenge this month that's running from the 1st of October to the 19th of November. So you still have time to take part. And essentially, you get to decide your hourly goal. So you can have 12, 16, 20, or 24 hours, you decide. And once you reach that goal, you actually get the chance to win credits and free lessons and free language tests, and you get a certificate. So I find that these challenges can be a great way to help you push through those days when you actually don't feel like studying and keep you in focus to achieving your language goals. So if you want to take part in the challenge, you can use the link in my description. There is also a promo code down there, so when you spend $10, you can get $5 off. Now let's jump into this list of Dutch English words. Now, Dutch and English as separate languages have been rubbing shoulders for quite some time. We can see this through history. They're both stemming from nations that were massive colonizers back in the 1600s. So they came across each other, and they're both notorious for being languages that soak up other languages and steal words and borrow terms and adapt to their surroundings. What surprised me, though, was that they actually have had quite a big influence on each other. And I know that there's, in the modern world, a lot of Englishisms that are coming into the Dutch language, and I've made a video about that, so I'll link it here. But there's also the reverse of this. So there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of English words that actually have a history in the Dutch language. So after coming across this paper, and I'll link that in the description below, about all of the different languages and their influences that they've had on the Netherlands, not the Netherlands, the influences they've had on the Dutch language, it got me thinking, what words am I still using today in English, when I speak English, that have actually stemmed from Dutch? And when I started looking into this, I was completely surprised at how many words that are very, very common that I had no idea came from the Dutch language. So my very first word is koekje. Koekje is now cookie in English. And I feel like you can definitely hear the similarities in this word. However, this word is an example of consistent patterns that happened when English was adopting Dutch words. So koekje, which is spelt in Dutch with the OE sound and makes an oo, was converted to English using a single vowel sound. So this in English was represented by a double O, so OO, hence the spelling that we have with cookie. They obviously still have basically the same meaning today, completely different spellings, but similar sounds. Now the next word, spooky or spookje. So to take that double O sound that we have in cookie, a different variation on this forming in the English language is taking the word spook, spooky, and Dutch spook, een spookje. So instead of respelling the word, we actually kept the same spelling that they have in Dutch and just pronounced it differently. So you'll hear the difference between these two words, and yet they have similar sorts of meanings. So both surrounding things to do with ghosts, entities, that sort of thing. So once you start digging into these patterns and the etymology of words, it can get really, really interesting in how many different networks there are between the two languages. Words like mannequin, which I had originally thought stemmed from French because of the spelling. It doesn't look like it's Germanic spelling to me. There's silent letters, the QU thing, French. But essentially the meaning of mannequin is a model to display clothes. And mannequin in Flemish Dutch is little man. So you can see that these connections have been made. There's been adoptions that have changed the language over time, but realizing how many Dutchisms, I guess, I'm still using every single day is super, super interesting to me. Some more obvious words, things like landscape, landschap, So that's a little clearer. I know that the ge that they have in Dutch is a little difficult for English speakers to pronounce. So the ge has turned into a k, more of a hard sound. Scape. Things like skate stem from schaats, schaatsen, skating. And the story about schaatsen that was apparently invented by the Dutch. And if you haven't seen my last video about Dutch inventions, go and check that one out. But apparently it was brought to England in the 1660s by the exiled followers of King Charles II, who had taken refuge in the Netherlands. Now, the Dutch language has a very, very large and varied vocabulary describing bodies of water, things to do with the water, things that go on the water, things that you can do in the water. The water and its vocabulary is a part of Dutch life. There's lots of different words for this. And a lot of them have inspired the words that we use in English. I don't think that our vocabulary surrounding water and the things that we do on the water would be so rich if it wasn't for the Dutch and their water influence on our language. Words like cruise. So if you are going on a cruise in English, this word actually stems from kruisen. So to cross or to sail there and back. And a whole bunch of other words. So things like yacht, buoy, deck, sloop, skipper, bow. So many words come from Dutch. So booze is a word that I use a lot as an Australian. It is a slang term for alcohol. Apparently this word comes from Old Dutch and a word that also was describing drinking heavily. So very much still a similar meaning, but the word in Old Dutch was boesen. So boesen, if I'm speaking Old Dutch correctly and pronouncing that right, you can almost hear that it really hasn't changed that much over time, and meaning being quite similar as well. Now, I saw this one in a comment in one of my old videos, I forget which one, but someone was explaining about a rucksack, and that this actually stems from Dutch being rugzak, which is the word for a backpack. Now, rucksack, I don't really use as an Australian. I think that's more of an American term, but you can really clearly see rugzak and rucksack being almost a direct translation, like both in meaning and being able to hear the similarities between rug and ruck. And again, this is that ge sound turning into a ka, that k, that harder sound that's a little easier for English speakers to pronounce. Again, some of these more direct translations, things like iceberg and ijsberg. So berg being a mountain and ice is ice. So that's almost the same. And this one I didn't know, but in poker, you bluff someone. And bluff is also stemming from Dutch. So bluffen or to verbluffen. So to boast or to brag. Pretend that you've got a good hand. Now, brandy is invented by the Dutch, I believe, and someone correct me, someone let me know in the comments below, but they were trying to transport wine, figure out a way to better preserve wine, to transport it using ships across distances. And they basically came up with a new alcohol, which is brandy. And the Dutch word was actually brandewijn, so burnt wine. And that's kind of how that turned into brandy, which I'm sure they traded with the English at some point, or rather in the 1600s and 1700s. And the last one, which I found really funny, was coleslaw. So this is almost exactly a direct translation and sounds almost exactly the same as coleslaw. Now, there are literally thousands of words. I have left a link in the description, so check that one out as well. Let me know what your favorite word is, or let me know if you've been surprised by one of these words, if you've got better examples of Dutch words that have turned into English words. I love going through the comments and learning even more about a topic after I've brought out a video, because you guys always seem to fill up the comments with new and better examples. So that is my favorite thing. So let me know what your favorite Dutch stolen word is, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.